Hello and welcome to another live stream with the IELTS Grind. My name's Phil, and today we've got a pretty good lesson for you. I think we are looking at some speaking practice, and we're going to be looking at part one and part two. So this means you guys have an opportunity to join me on a live Zoom call to practice some questions. So if you're interested in that, I'll talk about how you can contact me and talk to me later today. So before we get started, let's talk about exactly what we'll be doing over the next hour. So today's lesson, we're going to start with section one, where I've prepared a few questions with some examples of the vocabulary and the style that you might use to answer those questions. And then afterwards, in section two, we're going to start a Zoom call where you can come and join me. And I've prepared about 3 part 1 questions from the IELTS exam and 3 part 3 questions. And you'll be able to practice, and I will give you some feedback and make some suggestions. So if you're interested in doing that, all you have to do is, if you come to today's lesson here, you can see you've got all the details here in the live chat, or if you come to the description, you can click on the link for Zoom, and I'll be starting that a little bit later on. So I'll also be keeping an eye on the live chat, so if you have any questions at any point, feel free to put them in there. And also just let me know if the sound's okay, if you can see me, etc. Right. So before we do start with section one, I want to talk about the thumbnail that I used today. So this is the thumbnail from today's lesson. I would like to know, out of interest, if any of you know why I chose this thumbnail. Why have I got a kind of a businessman, or someone with a tie at least, swimming with a shark? If you think you know the answer, why don't you pop that into the chat as a comment? Why on earth have I chosen to put a businessman with a shark? What's the connection? And in just a second, I'm going to reveal a really good way of learning vocabulary all to do with business. So if you think you know what the connection is between the shark and the businessman here, feel free to leave a comment, and I'm going to tell you in just a moment why I chose that. Okay, so the reason I chose to have a shark on today's thumbnail. So there is a show in the USA. It's called The Shark Tank. And we have exactly the same TV show in the UK, where I'm from, which is called Dragon's Den. So they're the same type of TV show. And what happens is entrepreneurs, people that set up their own businesses, they go onto this show, they pitch their idea, they present their idea, and then they ask these sharks or dragons, who are investors, to give them money. And it's a kind of a competition. In order to get the investment, they have to get all of the money from the people on that day. But this is a great series, The Shark Tank and the Dragon's Den, for British English, if you want to learn business terms, because that's all they talk about. And it's all free on YouTube, and quite often you can find subtitles. So I'm not going to play the videos because there's a copyright issue if I do that on a live stream. But you can just type in Dragon's Den or Shark Tank and you'll find that information. And that is why I chose the shark, because I think the American show is perhaps a little bit more well known than the UK show. Okay, anyway, let's start with section one. So in section one, what I'm going to do is to answer some questions, and you can see the type of vocabulary I use and the style that I use. So think about how you would answer these questions as we go along. So the first question is, do you know anyone who owns a business? So this is a question you might get. It's more of a part one question, we would say. And here's a suggested answer. I do, but I wouldn't say he is more than a casual acquaintance. There is a friend of the family who opened up a small kiosk in the local shopping centre where he offers various services. I go there if I need a key to be cut or someone to fix the sole of my shoes. So he's a locksmith come cobbler, I suppose. I'm not very good at reading today. I have to wake up a little bit. Okay, so you can see in purple perhaps some phrases more to do with businesses and services, but there's also some other good phrases here. So I wouldn't say he's more than a casual acquaintance. I know the person, but I don't know the person well. They're a friend of the family. Generally, people in my family, we know them, but we're not very close friends. He opened up a small kiosk. So a kiosk is not exactly a shop, but it's a very small type of shop. Often in a shopping centre, you might find this in the middle of where people walk around. You might also find a kiosk on the street that sells newspapers or other services. To offer services, to get a key cut, so if you want to copy a key, for example, or fix the sole of your shoes. Sole, S-O-L-E, not to be confused with soul, S-O-U-L. And this expression, so he's a locksmith come cobbler. Here I'm describing that the person has two different jobs. So that's an expression. He's a locksmith come cobbler. We can't use it in every instance, but it does work where you're kind of connecting two services, for example. Okay, what qualities does a successful business person have? So businessman, businesswoman. So again, think about what you would say. If you guys want to put your answers into the chat for any of these, feel free. But later on, when we move to section 2, some of you will see these questions, so you could give your answers then. So here's a suggested answer. Not being an expert, I can't say exactly what traits a businessman or woman need, but I think it's a combination of quite a few. Probably you need a certain amount of grit, determination and resilience, as well as the ability to work well with colleagues and customers alike. I'd also say that being pretty cutthroat from time to time wouldn't hurt either. Okay, so I actually had my camera blocking half of my screen, so I had to look at my phone and the screen to read the whole thing. Never mind. Okay, so what have I done here? So quite often you guys are going to want to tell the examiner that you don't know everything about the topic. So this is my expression here, not being an expert, I can't say exactly. So this is a nice way to talk about that when you're not too sure what the answer is. And that's absolutely okay. You don't have to be experts. And then I've said traits instead of qualities to try and paraphrase that a little bit. And I've used this expression grit. So grit, it's very much more an American expression, I would say. We do use it in the UK, but I hear it much more in American TV. But what I did was, because this is kind of a high level idea, I explained it. Again, I paraphrase. Determination and resilience. This is what grit means. And then we've got a nice phrase here, to be cutthroat. To be cutthroat in business means when there's an opportunity, you don't think about other people. You think about business above everything else. Okay, so another question just to get us warmed up. Would you like to start a business? I've often thought about this, and yes, in the right situation, I would. I've always been a person who has ambitious ideas, and I would say that I have a certain amount of entrepreneurial spirit. I suppose the only reason I haven't launched any ideas yet is that I never have the required startup capital to get the ball rolling. Okay, so again, here we've got a few nice phrases we might use to have ambitious ideas, ambitious plans, to have a certain amount of entrepreneurial spirit. Entrepreneurial spirit. It's a bit of a mouthful. It is a French word there. Famously, George W. Bush in a speech said the problem with the French is they don't have a word for entrepreneur, which is a bit ironic. But this is an expression, entrepreneurial spirit, meaning that you want to start businesses and to, find success standing on your own 2 feet. And again, we can talk about required startup capital, meaning the money to invest into a business. And this is a nice idiom here. To get the ball rolling means to start something. Okay, so another question. What are many people, sorry, why? I cannot read today. Why are many people starting up their own businesses online these days? So as an example, I would say it's connected to the recent global turmoil and a growing sense of insecurity. Previously, a lot of people were content with the traditional 9 to 5, but that has changed. Now, I would say that a lot of people are starting a side hustle, like an e-commerce store, where they can subsidize their monthly salary or regular salary and even replace it. So that's why it's happening more and more. So again, I'm having to switch between the screen and my phone because my camera's blocking the view. I have to work on the setup. Okay, so some nice phrases here. The traditional 9 to 5. That just means a normal job, to have a 9 to 5 job. Starting a side hustle. So a side hustle, it's become quite popular in recent years. When you start a business online or an extra business part-time to subsidize your salary or to add to how much money you make each month. Okay, have any businesses closed in your town recently? Yes, I've actually noticed that happening a lot recently. In my town, it tends to be in the restaurant or catering industry. I suppose it's harder to find customers or hold mass events, which means many of these businesses are struggling to make ends meet. Sometimes it's better to throw in the towel and wait for better opportunities ahead. So here, some phrases that you could use. So the restaurant industry, the catering industry, the steel production industry. We can use it in many different ways. And we have a nice idiom here. To make ends meet, to struggle to make ends meet. This is an expression that means when you don't have enough money to pay for all of the things you need to pay for to make ends meet. And we also have another idiom here, to throw in the towel. To throw in the towel, it's an expression that comes from boxing, I believe, the sport. And you throw in the towel when you want to stop the fight. So it means to give up. So some of these businesses are giving up, they're closing down and waiting for better times. Okay, So, those were some examples of some of the questions that we're going to see in a moment, and just some expressions that you might use. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to start up the Zoom call. And if you are interested in joining me, all you've got to do is if we go, you can check this out in the live chat. You've got all the information here, or you've got in the description, you can find the information to the Zoom call. So feel free to join me there, and we'll see if anyone is interested in doing some live practice. So I'm going to start up the Zoom call now, and we'll see what we have. And I'm going to put on my handy little headphones so I can listen to it. Okay, so the Zoom call is ready to go. And we'll wait to see if anyone would like to join me. And while we're waiting, we're going to look at the first question. And you can think about what you would say for this. So, do you know anyone who owns a business? So this is going to be the first question for anyone who wants to join me on the Zoom call. So we give everyone a little bit of time. Good. Looks we have a first customer.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. Okay, good. So just before we start, I'm going to check I can hear you coming through the live stream. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it won't be that great.
Okay. Hi there.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like you're coming through loud and clear. Okay, great. Uh, so, I explained earlier in the video
Yeah.
that I'm going to give you 3 part 1 questions and 3 part 3 questions. And they're all to do with like businesses or being an entrepreneur, which is
Yeah.
someone who starts their own business. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go and do that. So the first question for you, Lynn, is do you know anyone who owns a business?
Yeah. I definitely know about one of my friends. He started one great first shop in near my home. So in the weekend, sometimes I will help to do some uh food deliver for my friend in the weekend. Yeah.
What types of businesses are there in your town?
Mm, what kind of pardon? What kind of a business in my town?
Yeah, what types of businesses are there in your town?
Mm, in my in my town, I think I live in the uh uh downtown. So there is a government department near my house. Maybe I take a work for 5 minutes. So I think it's a kind of a business, commercial, very famous in my downtown. So it's very convenient for customer or consumer to buy something for their own.
What qualities does a successful business person have?
Mm, in my opinion, I think the successful uh, entrepreneur maybe have a decision on their own. So they do not hesitate to do something if they want. Maybe they will get first try, first try to do something, but they will not give up. They will try again. So never give I think it's a better it's a one of quality about a successful entrepreneur. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on and look at some part three questions. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Why have certain types of businesses died out over the years?
To be honest, during the COVID-19 pandemic, uh, a lot of people will do not, a lot of people will lose their job because of mm, people will stay in their home for for safety. Then they will reduce some kind of activity. For example, if you want to exercise, go outside before in Taiwan, you need to wear the mask. But for now, I think it's more good time to take care for your mask. So I think the the COVID-19 is a important factor to shop
Okay, so
about their
so Lynn, you've mentioned COVID-19 as a
yeah
factor.
yeah.
Why might a business close down before the COVID-19 pandemic? What types of reasons were there for businesses to close down 10 years ago, for example?
10, 10 years ago, I think the in online shopping is more convenient than than before. So then 10 years ago. So uh, a lot of the store they will open their shop online. Then because of the rent, they will not uh, afford to their owner for a lot of money because in Taiwan the rent is very going high recently, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, so I think the big factor is online shopping is more popular
Okay.
in recent days. Yeah, recently. Yeah.
So, what factors make some businesses a success while others fail?
Mm, I, in my opinion, I think the important factor that will make a business more successful is about commercial behavior. Because like the Apple, they will create a commercial behavior every year. They will education the consumer to buy the Apple Watch or Mac every year. They will create a new behavior uh, every year. So I think the best idea and the commercial behavior is result in successful in business.
How much influence should governments have over small private businesses?
Mm, Pardon, say again.
Yeah. How much influence should governments have over small private businesses?
How much required? How much factor? Influence. I know. Like the in recently the in Taiwan, government will provide a double five pay in the market. So if you are the Taiwanese people, you will get to consumer your to consume your in your shop. So I think government will uh, provide a lot of opportunity for people, maybe in create a job opportunity or the commercial uh, people for people they need. So I think in the small shop, they will have a lot of effect on government.
Okay, so you've mentioned the government in Taiwan. Um, do you think that generally the government has a positive or a negative effect on
Yes,
small businesses?
yes, I definitely agree because during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of shops will close. Um, in in Mayday, I live in my hometown. There is a lot of small shop close because the people will stay safe in their home. They will not go outside with their friend or hang out in the movie theater. Yeah, so I think that if if a government, they will have a lot of effect uh, to a small shop. They will create a lot of message. For example, the five double pay in the market, and people will to buy their own in the small shop. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, good. So, let's go through and talk about a few things. Um, so just
Yeah.
a general tip for everyone, it's when you're answering the questions, and even if you're talking about general ideas, it's always good to give a specific example. So what type of businesses are there in your town? Um, so you could talk about, for example, there are lots of clothes shops. In particular, I go to one that's called Net, which sells, fairly inexpensive clothes. So if you can give a specific example, it not only makes it easier to understand what you're talking about, but for you, it's also easier because it focuses you the answer that you're giving. So wherever possible, try and think of like a specific thing. It doesn't have to be the name of a shop, but you could concentrate on, well, in Taiwan, convenience
Yeah.
shops, 7-Eleven and things like this. So try and think of that, yeah?
Yeah.
So I just found that when we're talking about, this kind of question, we went off topic a little bit, I think, from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but getting back to what you said, so you were talking about a breakfast shop, which was excellent, and you said that your friend has a breakfast shop.
Yeah.
You said I think you said
Only.
you said started. They started a breakfast shop. I might say
Yeah.
they opened up a breakfast shop, and you spoke about how from time to time you do deliveries. So you
Yeah.
could use the expression, I sometimes give him a hand. To give someone a hand means to help them, but it's an idiom.
Yeah.
To give someone a hand, yeah. Um, yeah. And then when we were talking about, which question was it? Yeah, this question. What types of businesses? You spoke about government buildings. I wouldn't say that the government is a business necessarily. Um,
Yeah.
so perhaps so when I said give a specific example, it was for this question. I just make sure that you're giving the answer that matches up. What you said was fine. It connected to each other, but maybe it's not a business. And what else did I write? Oh yeah. So let's just practice the pronunciation of entrepreneur. Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah. So
Entrepreneur.
we in a English accent it's entrepreneur. In a French accent, it might be different. Entrepreneur, but entrepreneur is what you can say. So just practice that pronunciation. I understood what you're saying, but you could just work on that. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
we were talking about qualities, and you were talking about making choices and things like that. A good expression would be decision making ability, able to make decisions, decision making.
Okay.
This would be a good expression. You could also say that this type of person has to be bold, bold. Bold is sort of like brave, willing to take risks. So this
We are
person
both.
has to be bold. So make sure you have the d sound on the end. To be bold. Yeah.
We both.
That
Okay.
that just when you were talking, that would have been a good expression to use as well. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
then we spoke about excuse me. We spoke about why have certain types of businesses died out over the years. Um,
Yeah.
so you were talking about the pandemic and things, which is absolutely fine. It was
Yeah.
it was a good example to use. Just make sure when you're talking about the past, you're using past tense. So you said
Yeah.
a lot of people lose their job. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
lost their job. So lost in past, yeah. And after that, you were talking about how in Taiwan people had to wear masks, they couldn't go out, and your answer slowly went from why did the businesses close to what happened during COVID. So a good tip here is, if possible, at the end of your answer, try and
Mm-hmm.
summarize or paraphrase the question. So
Yeah.
you would say, and that's why certain businesses have died out, or that's why certain businesses have closed. And it kind of brings you back towards the question a little bit more. Okay,
Okay.
so we're talking about what factors make some businesses a success while others fail. And you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned commercial behavior. I wonder if you were talking about advertising, like
Yeah.
promoting, perhaps that, because you mentioned commercial behavior, and I don't know if it's a term we would use a lot, but for me, I think that's talking about a customer more than a business, perhaps. So I might say advertising. More
Advertise.
successful businesses can advertise their products better. So
Okay.
that, yeah. And so I asked you a question, a follow up question.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you, um, is the Taiwanese government a positive or negative effect on small businesses? So it was one or the other. And you said, I definitely agree with you. But I was
Yeah.
asking you, which one? If I had
Mm-hmm.
said, um, the Taiwanese government has had a positive effect on businesses, then you could say, yes, I agree, or no, I disagree. But when it's an option, positive or negative, you would have to say, personally, I think it's positive. Personally, I think it's negative. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
just so make sure that when you say agree, you're agreeing to a statement.
Agree. Yeah.
Um, so
Yes, then.
what Michael and I say for speaking, for writing, generally just don't say agree or disagree. Say I think, because it's much easier to get it right then.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's positive. I think it's negative. Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, overall, yeah, good. So just like I said, think of specific examples to help explain your point. That will help you to focus your answer, and think about summarizing the answers or coming back to the original question, and that will make it much easier to understand overall. So, Lynn, do you have any questions for me at all?
I think that very useful. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So yeah, just keep practicing, keep doing what you're doing, and of course, come back and you can practice with us anytime we do these live streams. Okay. So
Okay. Thank you.
I'll speak to you later. Bye.
Okay. Have a great day.
Yeah. See you later.
See you.
Okay, great. So thank you to Lynn for being the first person. So we do have a few more practice questions if anyone would like to join me today. So all you've got to do is if you come to today's lesson, you've got in the live chat the details for the Zoom call or in the description. So I'm going to leave it open for a little while and see if anyone would like to join me. Just while we're waiting, what I would do is we'll have a look at the next question to whet our appetite. So, would you like to start a business? As a part one question. So you probably never ever thought about this before. Well, maybe some of you have. What could we say for this? Would you like to start a business? So if I was going to say this, I would either choose yes or no, logically, and you just back it up with a reason. So if I was saying yes, I would say, I think that I would like to start a business because I imagine it would give you a lot more freedom over your working day, especially if you were working for yourself. But it would also give you a certain amount of responsibility if you are hiring members of staff. Of course, it's not all good, but I think overall I would like to start a business. Perhaps I don't want to start a business. What would I say in this case? Actually, I probably wouldn't want to start a business because there is a lot of responsibility that comes along with it. For example, you have a lot of people relying on you, not only customers, but also employees. And I believe that could give you a lot of stress. So, for that reason, I think I just prefer to have a normal 9 to 5 job and let someone else worry about it. Okay, so don't forget, if you want to have a chat with me today, you can jump on the Zoom call live and you can come and answer these questions. Let's have a look at one more just while we're seeing if anyone else would like to talk to me. Unfortunately, this is the part where we need you guys. It's all about speaking practice today. So the question is, are people taught business skills at school in your country? So in secondary school, for example, do you have dedicated lessons where they teach you things like how to use computer tools for business, how to do the accounts for a business, things like this? So it's been a long time since I've been at school. So what might I say? To be honest with you, I can't remember if students are taught this at school. I know that in the UK we learn basic skills, for example, how to use Excel on computers, and we have a basic knowledge of maths. But I'm not sure if we have dedicated classes which teach you how to set up a business, how to organize a payroll to pay employees. So I think it might be a good idea to introduce some vocational classes like that. Okay, and we'll have one more. Will traditional high street businesses disappear in the future? So we've got Rupinder is coming to save my bacon. Maybe she'll answer this question. Let's go back to the start here. Okay, so looks like Rupinder is joining us in Zoom. This is perfect. Just gonna give her a bit of time to make sure the audio is working and everything. And we're gonna go back to that first question. Would you like to start a business? Give her a bit of time to make sure the audio is working and everything. We're gonna go back to that first question.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Yep, I'm doing well, thank you. Okay, so I don't know if you were watching, but today what we're doing is you have three part one questions to answer and three part three questions, okay? And it's all to do with business and being an entrepreneur, okay? So we're going to go back and have a look at some questions that I was trying to answer. So maybe you can give an even better answer than me. So the first question for you today is, would you like to start a business?
Uh, yes, without a doubt, I would like to say definitely if I get this opportunity, I would love to open my own business because from my childhood, I always wanted to become an entrepreneur, and being a businesswoman is always my dream.
Are people taught business skills at school in your country?
To be very honest, in India, uh, teaching a real business skill is not right now the people teach doing right now. uh, Majority of the academic or the curriculum in the schools concentrating on the academics, such as math, science, and languages, instead of teaching the real business skill that required to open a business or to start a business.
Will traditional high street businesses disappear in the future?
It's quite difficult to say that in future might the traditional street business would be disappear, because I think still there are many areas, um, or many people who would like to buy the things from the local uh, business or the local small shops instead of going to a high complex or shopping malls. So I think it's not appropriate to say that in future the small malls or the small uh, street markets would disappear.
Okay, so let's move on and have a look at the part three questions here. What are some of the advantages for a country as a whole of having entrepreneurial citizens?
According to me, the country who has many entrepreneur or the successful business well will definitely benefit the nation because of the high revenue and the opportunities or the industry that they will open in the local area. Apart from that, I think they will represent the country on the international level, which will definitely bring pride to the national people.
So, in your country, do you think there are a lot of entrepreneurs?
Right now in my country there are not many entrepreneurs, but I can observe that the majority of the youngster, uh, they are changing their way and they are more interested in opening a business, to start up their own business, to become an entrepreneur instead of instead of pursuing a doctor or the engineer stream. So I can say that in future we can see
Oh, we're breaking up. Uh, Unfortunately, we're having a bit of an issue there, Rupinder. The internet connection's not
man in my
working. Yeah.
hello.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed most of that. We had an internet issue. Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay.
So, would you mind just summarizing what you just said? So,
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, okay. Yeah, sure. Um, now in India, of the youngster changing their way as compared to the previous time, where especially the youngster or the parents enforcing them to follow or to become a doctor or engineer. So in I think in the upcoming time in India, there will be a more businesswoman or businessman.
okay, good. How can we encourage more entrepreneurs?
Mm, as in my opinion, I think there are a number of things.
Uh, we've lost the sound. Let's give Rupinder a chance to come back. The microphone's gone. It's a shame because Rupinder often gives
Like,
very good answers. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Your microphone went off there. Um, can I, yeah. Can I ask you again? How can we encourage more entrepreneurs?
mm, in my opinion, I would say that there are many things by which we can encourage entrepreneurs. First of all, we can provide some assistance by the government, especially those who are working at a small scale. Apart from that, by giving some motivational lesson or but giving by success examples of successful businessmen will definitely improve their performance, and it will work as a motivation for them.
Why are many people starting up their own businesses online these days?
um, Social media now have become a part of everyone's life, and it's easily accessible not only on the youngster, but I think majority of the senior citizen also like to use a social media. So this is the I think the only reason why many entrepreneur or businessman like to join the online business, because it's easily accessible to everyone, and we can promote not only at the national level but also at the global level.
So you're talking about international, global level. Um, so are there any advantages to an online business over a brick and mortar business, like in your hometown? Are there any advantages to online businesses?
Yeah, there are many advantages of the online business as compared to the traditional way of business. Firstly, the circle or the range to provide the services to the customer is wider as compared to the previous way of business. And the secondly, the as I've said, the approach is more accessible to the everyone, so we can earn more revenue by providing our services at the international level, which is not possible by using the previous way. And apart from that, I think we can learn from uh, the people what they want from the other countries also.
Excellent. That's perfect. Thank you very much, Rupinder. Yeah, good job. So again, what I like about you is that you always give very good answers. You logically link your ideas together and you develop it well. That's really, really good. So just a few suggestions perhaps. So we were talking about this first question here. Would you like to start a business? Just remember, when you're using your conditional, you said, if I get the opportunity, I would like. So for second conditional, we would say, if I got
If I
the
had,
opportunity, or if I had,
yeah,
yeah. So it's, but to be honest, you're still using the high level complex sentence structure. Even if you get it a little bit wrong, it's not the end of the day. Not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, when I say it, you know it. And this is just, you know, when you're speaking, you've got so much happening in your head. So if you're able to immerse yourself in English a little bit more, especially with speaking, even if you're talking to yourself, you'll just become more and more familiar, and you won't have to think so much about the structures, you know? So here it's just working on fluency, which is just talking. If you haven't got anyone else to talk to yourself. Talk to a pet if you have to. It will just help get your brain into English mode, okay? And so you also mentioned that you're sort of, you know, passionate about business, about becoming an entrepreneur. And I would have used the maybe a perfect tense here. I have always been interested in starting my business. So just think about the grammar opportunities that you have. You're talking about a result, something that's still true now. It should be present perfect simple. So I like the way that you're using kind of native level expressions to start your answers, to be totally honest with you. Another version of that, to be totally frank with you. Frank as in the name Frank. To be totally frank, I don't know if people talk business skills. So you can use a variation of that and it will avoid repetition. We were talking about traditional high street businesses disappearing. And you were talking about the fact that there are customers that still use them. You could have said something like this. There are people who rely or still rely on these small shops. So to rely on a service would have been a good expression. What else did I say? Oh, yes. So with the expression according to me, we don't really use that. This expression according to, what we're doing is we're reporting what somebody has said. So according to the latest figures, according to the Times newspaper, according to my friend. When you're talking about what you think, you need to use an expression like in my opinion or for me personally. So we don't really use that phrase according to me. It's according to someone else. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And we were talking about this idea of the future. So just watch out for the difference between in future and in the future. So, for example, I might say in my business, in future, we need to take the rubbish bins out at 7 o'clock. In future. This means it's a habit that we have, or a routine. In the future, we will have robots to take the rubbish out for us. So when we're talking about the time period, future, we say in the future. But we do have an expression in future where we're giving advice or talking about habits or routines that we have to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just one little word, but it's just a difference in meaning. That's good. And we were talking about how to encourage more entrepreneurs. You might talk about government incentives to incentivize. So maybe giving money or a tax rebate or a tax reduction, an incentive. You could have used that expression, and it did fit with what you were saying. But again, overall, very good stuff. Absolutely no problems at all, really. Just keep doing what you're doing, and over time, you're going to get better and better. Okay? Do you have any questions for me at all? You happy with that?
Actually, not. You already cleared my all doubts. Yes,
Yeah?
I'm happy.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, just like I said, I do like the way you answer things. And it's just, keep building on what you're doing, and progressively
Mhm.
you get better and better. And like I said, fluency, it's just getting what's in your head out of your mouth.
Mhm.
And you've just got to talk to anyone that you can talk to. So, yeah, even yourself. Okay? Right. So, I'm going to say goodbye. I think we're having a few internet issues, but thank you, Rupinder. And thank you to Lynn for joining me today. But we are rapidly running out of time. But what I will say is at the beginning of the lesson, I said the reason why I use this rather scary picture of a shark was there's a great show called Shark Tank in the USA or Dragon's Den in the UK. And it's all about businesses. It's quite a funny show. I like to watch it. And you can pick up some great business vocabulary by watching these types of shows. It's native level English, so it's really good for your speaking. But as a general rule, what you hear on TV may not be great for your writing. If you want to catch us in another live stream, all you have to do is come to the artsgrind.com live stream schedules, and you'll see that on the 23rd, this is Saturday coming up, Michael will be back with a vocabulary lesson all about childhood. So make sure you join that. And just thanks everyone for watching. And if you found this a useful video at all, give us a like, because it does help us spread the message a little bit. And just between you and me, we're not having a lot of success spreading the message through YouTube, but we're happy to help as many people as we can. So thank you, everyone.